Hey folks, JD here, and today and every Thursday we're going to pick a game, we're going to look into the lore, look into either enemies, weapons, look into the game itself, and we're going to delve a little bit deeper. And today I thought we could have a little look at Fallout 4. Now that is a game I absolutely adore. It's a game I keep on going back to. It's a game that no matter how much of it I complete, I still want to complete more of it. And today I thought it'd be really fun to go back, as I've been playing it recently, and look at groups, gangs and factions. There's a lot to get through today, folks. I hope you enjoy. Let's get going. Firstly, Brotherhood of Steel. Due to its considerable strength and unyielding conviction, the Brotherhood of Steel is one of the Commonwealth's most feared factions. Through the acquisition and preservation of pre-war technology, the Brotherhood aims to ensure the future of the human race. However, this means that individual humans are often ignored or sacrificed, if doing so can further the Brotherhood's goals. Although the Brotherhood seeks to eradicate ghouls and synths, its members don't generally attack other humans without cause. However, any hostile action or open defiance is sure to result in bloodshed. Scribes. The scribes are tasked with cataloguing and preserving any information considered valuable to the Brotherhood of Steel. When it comes to combat, scribes lack the impressive skills and equipment of their frontline comrades. While they do have access to a small variety of armour and accessories, even the most effective combinations offer very little protection. Lancers are responsible for providing transportation and air support for the Brotherhood of Steel. With gear like bomber jackets and flight helmets, Lancers aren't particularly formidable, but every Lancer carries some sort of laser rifle in case a firefight breaks out. Soldiers. They are responsible for gathering technology and enforcing the will of the Brotherhood. Individuals who demonstrate exceptional loyalty and valour are promoted up the ranks, gaining more formidable gear along the way. Most Brotherhood of Steel soldiers rely on various laser rifles, but heavy guns such as miniguns, Gatling lasers and missile launchers are sometimes used to overwhelm the position. Higher ranking soldiers sometimes employ T-60 power armour, allowing them to absorb huge amounts of damage, use powerful explosives, rifles or heavy guns to engage from a safe distance, or equip a suit of power armour to even the odds in close combat. Ventibirds. Ventibirds are essentially mobile weapon platforms providing air support to the Brotherhood ground forces. Passengers can use the side-mounted miniguns to tear through enemy forces, and each Vertibird is also equipped with two fronted mounted 5mm cannons. Each projectile does relatively little damage, but even the toughest targets can be overwhelmed by a Vertibird's hail of bullets. If you find yourself in a Vertibird's crosshairs, check the area for any nearby structures that might offer cover. Target the pilot or use a missile launcher to quickly down one of their vehicles. Otherwise, chip away at its health with the most powerful weapon you own. During battle, a Vertibird tends to move in and out of any weapon's effective range, monitor your ammunition and choose your shots wisely. A disabled Vertibird will stay in the air for several seconds before crashing down to the ground. Use this time to get clear of the impending explosion. The Children of Atom. Considered a cult by many outsiders, the Children of Atom worship nuclear material and the radiation it emits. While most members are compelled to spread the word of Atom, Children of Atom are wary of strangers and generally attack trespassers on sight. Unless important business takes you into their territory, approaching a Child of Atom will trigger a firefight automatically. Children of Atom congregate in the Crater of Atom, but smaller groups can be found throughout the Commonwealth. They wear rags that offer very little protection, but prolonged exposure has left them immune to radiation and able to withstand a considerable amount of punishment. Although some Children of Atom rely on a variety of handmade pipe guns, others favour the radiation damage offered by gamma rays. Whenever possible, equip armour that offers radiation resistance or stock up on any radaway before engaging those fanatics. Diamond City Security. Diamond City Security is responsible for keeping hostiles out of the city and maintaining order within its walls. Law-abiding visitors and residents have nothing to fear from Diamond City Security, but infractions like theft and violence are generally met with overwhelming force. For the most part, Diamond City Security use repurposed baseball equipment to keep the peace. Their standard issue armour favours damage resistance over energy resistance, and all guards carry some sort of baseball bat. Each guard also carries a pipe rifle, and at least one stim pack, relying on superior numbers and emergency healing to overwhelm better equipped enemies. Luckily, it's fairly easy to prevent confrontations with Diamond City Security. Avoid committing criminal acts, or make sure your acts go unwitnessed. Probably best not to commit those acts, to ensure those guards leave you in peace. Drifters. Most of the people living in Good Neighbour are drifters who have grown wary of wandering the wilderness. They aren't particularly aggressive, but they're quick to swarm on visitors who threaten the relative safety of their community. Wrapped in simple clothing and armed with only handmade pipe guns, drifters aren't particularly effective in combat. However, attacking a drifter will draw all of Good Neighbour into the skirmish. Considering that drifters never carry anything of real value, there's not much to be gained from provoking them. Forged. The Forged are similar to raiders, set apart only by their small numbers and fanatic obsession with the destructive power of fire. These enemies can only be found in and around Sugis Ironworks, and they'll attack any and all trespassers on sight. Most Forged wear some form of caged armour, spiked armour, or drifter outfit. Even when combined with a piece of headgear, a typical Forged has fairly low resistances. However, the Forged do carry a wide variety of weapons. Those who favour melee weapons tend to use baseball bats, sledgehammers, and even the occasional super sledge. They also have access to a large selection of pistols, rifles, and flamers. The most Forged carry a supply of Molotov cocktails. Because Forged are limited to a single location, there's no need to engage them until you are adequately prepared. Forged are most effective at short to medium range, so it's usually best to pick them off from a distance using a sniper rifle. When that's not an option, be sure to watch for incoming Molotov cocktails as you deal with incoming Forged. Gunners. Gunners claim to be soldiers for hire, but throughout the Commonwealth, they have a well-earned reputation as being a highly militarised gang of thugs. Aggressive and fiercely territorial, gunners are guaranteed to attack anyone who wanders into an area they've claimed as their own. They are well equipped and well organised, and a group of gunners almost always includes at least one combat-ready robot. Gunners can also be found in Mass Bay Medical Centre, Hub City Auto Wreckers, and many other locations throughout the Commonwealth. Gunner humans. Low-ranking gunners are usually limited to the protection offered by simple clothing, accessories, and occasional piece of leather armour. Gunners who have reached the rank of private sport a few new pieces of combat armour. Further promotions grant gunners better quality pieces of combat armour. Gunners also enjoy a vast arsenal of weapons. Combat rifles and laser rifles are popular choices, and no gunner would be caught relaying on a handmade pipe gun, but virtually any projectile weapon has a chance of appearing in a gunner's hands. Even valuable plasma weapons can be found on high-level gunners. Batons and rippers are also sometimes used, as are fragmentation grenades, Molotov cocktails, and a variety of heavy guns. Gunners' robots. With the exception of the custom paint jobs, gunner robots are identical to the standard counterparts. For instance, when fighting a Mr. Gutsy, check its arms to estimate its offensive capabilities, then attack its eyes and torso. It's often best to slow an Assaultron by crippling its legs. Simply using your most powerful weapon against a sentry bot is always your best option. Mercenaries. Mercenaries lack the gunners' numbers and resources, but the two groups are similar in most respects. These enemies have been charged with guarding Parsons State Insane Asylum, which is the only place mercenaries can be found in the Commonwealth. They'll take their work very seriously and are guaranteed to attack anyone who encroaches on their territory. Each mercenary is equipped with at least a few pieces of combat armour and some type of combat rifle. This means all mercenaries enjoy a good balance of damage resistance and energy resistance, and they all deal reliable damage from a decent range. Many mercenaries are also carrying fragmentation grenades or Molotov cocktails to flush their targets out of cover. When battling a group of mercenaries, try to keep track of enemy locations and keep an eye for reinforcements that enter the skirmish. The Minutemen. Minutemen were once a formidable and rather popular faction of the Commonwealth. Due to significant losses and internal squabbles, however, this people's militia has struggled to survive in recent years. By defending their friends and neighbours at every opportunity, the few remaining Commonwealth Minutemen have to bolster their numbers and bring some measure of peace and comfort to the average man and woman scattered through the region. Each Minuteman relies on what gear he or she can salvage, so the group's strength is determined by the allegiances it manages to forge. You first encounter Preston Garvey, who has spent years believing he is the last Commonwealth Minuteman, in the Museum of Freedom. With enough allies, however, Preston believes he can re-establish the castle of the Minutemen's base of operations. Most Minutemen are limited to whatever protection is offered by simple clothing and headgear, and some members have managed to salvage a few pieces of leather armour or metal armour. The laser musket is a signature weapon of the Minuteman, but the average Minuteman is also forced to rely on whatever weapons he or she managed to salvage before joining. This means that patrolling Minutemen can be found carrying anything from humble pipe guns to heavily modified combat rifles. While some of its members can seem to be a bit self-righteous, Minutemen never attack without provocation. In fact, because the group's strength is determined by the support of its allies, Minutemen are generally eager to lend a hand to anyone who doesn't pose a direct threat. Neighbourhood Watch. The Neighbourhood Watch is responsible for keeping order in Good Neighbour. Acts of theft or violence are answered with a hail of bullets, but visitors who stay out of trouble have nothing to fear from these local guards. Wearing only patched three-piece suits and worn fedoras, members of the Neighbourhood Watch aren't particularly well protected. The group does include both humans and ghouls, however, so some members are immune to radiation damage. Most of these guards are surprisingly friendly, but they're also quick to deal damage to misbehaving visitors. Pillars of the Community. The Pillars of the Community is a new movement based on the Charles View Amphitheatre. Its leader claims to have discovered a quick path back to the prosperity of the pre-war Commonwealth, and he's managed to gather a small flock of followers since founding the organisation. The Pillars of the Community aren't initially hostile, but they're easily provoked. Pillars of the Community members have fairly unimpressive gear, but as a group they can still be a handful. Missionaries carry pipe guns, but initiates are limited to a variety of simple melee weapons. If you choose to engage this group in combat, keep moving to avoid being surrounded as you thin their numbers out. Raiders. Human scum. Raiders are plentiful, ruthless, and extremely aggressive. Luckily for you, though, however, they are particularly not bright. Large groups can be a handful, and some gangs contain particularly strong members, but most raiders are poorly equipped and all too accustomed to preying on their Commonwealth's most vulnerable residents. Raiders are predominantly human, but there are some ghouls among their numbers too. Many raider gangs also include one or more attack dogs. More on that a little bit later. Raiders have managed to maintain a strong presence throughout the Commonwealth, but check locations like Hardware Town, Combat Zone and Dunwich Borers when you're itching to find a gang of raiders to take out. The Common Raider. Most raiders possess at least one piece of raider armour, but leather armour and metal armour are also quite common. More powerful raiders even sport pieces of combat armour, so any two raiders can have wildly different resistances. Remember that before you go into battle. Because the weapons that they carry are equally varied, it is difficult to gauge a specific raider's offensive capabilities until you battle them. Most raiders are limited to low-quality ballistic guns and melee weapons, but they will use any weapon they can salvage. Fragmentation grenades are also very popular with raider gangs, so expect to dodge at least a few explosive when battling larger groups. Unnamed raider bosses. Like other groups and factions, raiders also have their share of legendary members and infamous bosses. However, some groups contain at least one particularly powerful raider who may not stand out from the pack. Raider psychos are equipped with power armour and are easily enough to spot, but Raider veterans often appear wearing gear you might find on any other comrade. When in doubt, do a bit of reconnaissance before engaging a group of raiders, or just get a massive weapon and charge. Raider dogs. Raiders tend to equip their attack dogs with accessories and armour. These items may make their animals look more intimidating, but they offer no protection. Two attack dogs of the same level can have different strengths and weaknesses, but a quick look is usually all it takes to tell them apart. Dogs with full fur coats have higher perception and less health than mangier-looking attack dogs. Railroad agents. The Railroad isn't the most powerful faction in the Commonwealth, but throughout the work of the dedicated Railroad agents, it has managed to gain a foothold in the Commonwealth. Members of the Railroad offer aid to fugitive Synths and a hope that one day all Synths will be free to live whatever life they please. These goals have put the Railroad at odds with the Brotherhood of Steel and both the Institute. The Railroad relies on secrecy and subvergence to survive, but Railroad agents won't hesitate to attack anyone who stands with their enemies. Considering their simple appearance, Railroad armoured coats offer fairly impressive resistances. All versions of this armour favour energy resistance over damage resistance, but the wearer even gains a small amount of radiation resistance too. Each Railroad agent carries some type of ballistic gun, and the most experienced operatives are issued Gauss rifles. Robots. Robots are essentially tools relying on their programming to determine friend or from foe. These designed for combat are equipped with particularly formidable weapons, but even those meant for more utilitarian tasks have some offensive capability as well. Any robot will take steps to protect itself from hostile actions. If a robot's weapons are destroyed during the skirmish, it will initiate a self-defense sequence and charge its target for a final attack. And some also blow up as well, so be careful and have a listen. Robots charged with defending specific locations tend to attack all trespassers, but others have been programmed with allegiances to groups or individuals. Additionally, many of the robots scattered throughout the Commonwealth have suffered massive malfunctions brought on by centuries of neglect and broken or misrepair. Even seemingly friendly robots can turn hostile without warning. Whenever you encounter an unknown robot, regardless of the type, it's best to approach with caution. Robots can be found in the General Atomics Galleria, Hester's Consumer Robotics, and various other locations throughout the Commonwealth. Literally, you haven't got to look far, they are everywhere. iBots. iBots are designed for reconnaissance and surveillance, but they're often used to broadcast information and propaganda to remote areas. The Minutemen and the Brotherhood of Steel sometimes utilise iBots for such reasons. Before you engage an iBot, consider any affiliated factions that might take offence. It's rare for an iBot to attack without provocation, but it does happen. Each iBot is equipped with a small laser weapon, but they're not particularly formidable enemies. Protectrons. Protectrons were designed to fill a variety of roles. Some are programmed for customer service, while others are responsible for maintenance, emergency response, or building security. Many Protectrons are linked to terminals through which you can issue basic commands or assign new protocols. While most Protectrons are equipped with some sort of energy weapon, many are limited to rudimentary melee strikes. Protectrons move very slowly, and they are not particularly durable, but they can often be used to clear an area of vermin or distract more formidable enemies. The good old Mr. Handy. A Mr. Handy's offensive capabilities are determined by the tools attached to his arms. Options include pincers, saws, and miniature flamethrowers. Each Mr. Handy can have up to 3 arms, so weapon combinations vary wildly. Mr. Handy was designed as a consumer model robot, so it's comparatively rare to encounter one that's outwardly hostile. If a fight does break out though, it's usually best to simply overwhelm these robots with firepower or explosive weaponry. Most moderate powerful weapons can make short work of a Mr. Handy. Mr. Gutsy. Mr. Gutsy robots may look similar to the consumer model Mr. Handy, but they boast a more durable design and more powerful weapons. Possible attachments include 44 pistols, combat rifles, laser guns and saws. Each Mr. Gutsy can carry up to 3 attachments, like Mr. Handy. All projectile weapons attachments share a standard appearance, however it's impossible to determine Mr. Gutsy's offensive capabilities until open fire. These robots are most effective in short to medium range, so long range weaponry are usually your best option. In close combat, try to target Mr. Gutsy's eyes before focusing your attacks on his torso. Destroying all of its eyes will compromise its accuracy without triggering a self-destruct sequence. Assaultrons. Assaultrons are formidable combatants. These agile robots use powerful melee strikes to batter their enemies, but they can also use fire-charged laser blasts from an energy weapon hidden within their heads. Additionally, Assaultron Dominators can generate stealth fields, making them difficult to track in a firefight. It's best to engage a hostile Assaultron from a distance. Target one of its legs, long-range weapon, and attempt to cripple it before it reaches you. Once you manage to down an Assaultron, keep moving to minimise the chances of being hit with a laser blast and continue attacking until the robot is absolutely 100% destroyed. Sentry Bots. Sentry bots are well armed and extremely durable. Armed with miniguns, machine launchers and even shoulder launchers, these robots can be devastating in combat. Bait a sentry bot into moving while it attacks. Heavy activity eventually causes a sentry bot to overheat, leaving it temporarily incapacitated. When this happens, move behind the enemy and focus your attacks on its exposed fusion core to deliver greatly increased damage. It takes about 6 seconds for an incapacitated sentry bot to recover, so move very, very quickly. Turrets. Turrets are utilised by nearly every gang, faction and organisation in the Commonwealth. Connected terminals can sometimes be used to control nearby turrets, but that's not always an option. Turrets that are mounted on walls or ceilings are protected by a shell of impenetrable armour. While they're inactive, these turrets can be damaged. When one of these turrets opens fire, however, the exposed gun can be destroyed. Turrets mounted on tripods or resting in a shopping cart are always vulnerable to attack. Once alerted, it usually takes a moment for the turret to acquire its target. Use this time to destroy it or seek cover and wait for it to reset. Scavengers. Scavengers roam the Commonwealth, generally looking to salvage anything of value. They aren't always hostile, but some scavengers can be fiercely protective of areas they claim as their own. Give these ancient scavengers their space, or use superior weaponry to clear them from your path. Scavengers tend to move from spot to spot, so most scavenger encounters happen at random locations in the Commonwealth's populated areas. Most scavengers are limited to basic clothing, but they also sometimes wear cage armour or a few leather armour pieces with little protection and relatively shoddy weapons. Hostile scavengers aren't as formidable as they'd have you believe. They can make for easy prey out in the wilds, but scavengers don't often carry much worth taking. Settlers. Settlers are ordinary men and women and ghouls looking for a place to call home. When these folks arrive in one of our workshop settlements, they're happy to take orders. Those you encounter in the wilds are generally on their way to the nearest workshop settlement. Either way, you'll only turn them hostile if you attack them, so best leave them alone. There isn't much to be gained from attacking your settlers. They're perfectly willing to give anything they have as their own. They are crucial to the productivity of your workshop settlement. Additionally, attacking one settler draws the entire community into the fray. If you choose to pick a fight, however, you will only gain a small amount of XP with every settler you dispatch. Super Mutants. Super Mutants are massive, muscle-bound creatures with natural immunity to radiation damage and an inherent hatred of humans. Most superhumans were created using the FEV virus, the Forced Evolutionary Virus. Humans were taken, they were plunged into the pool of FEV, and out forms a super mutant. But not every human that goes into the FEV eventually becomes a super mutant. Some mutate further, like the Master. We'll come on to that a little bit later. Most super mutants carry fairly crude gear, But they do have their share of powerful weapons, and many super mutant groups use trained mutant hounds to chase trespassers down. Super mutants aren't particularly intelligent, but their physical strength and natural aggression have allowed them to establish a fairly significant presence throughout the Commonwealth. Super mutants can be found in Fallon's department store, Fort Strong, and many other locations, most of which can be identified by the human remains and the hanging meat bags scattered around the area. Standard super mutants. Super mutant armour is fairly crude, but super mutants are inherently durable. Even the least powerful super mutants have natural damage, energy, and poison resistances, and these values increase significantly in higher ranking super mutants. Specifics vary based on equipped armour, but super mutants tend to prioritise damage resistance. Melee weapons and fragmentation grenades are also popular among the super mutants. For ranged combat, they tend to favour pipe rifles, assault rifles, and laser rifles. When it comes to heavy guns, miniguns, and assault and missile launchers, they're also fairly common too. Due to sensitive ears and a keen sense of smell, super mutants have relatively high perception and a considerable amount of health. In most cases, it's best to target a super mutant's arms. This compromises their accuracy and improves your chances of surviving the encounter. Super mutant suiciders. A super mutant suicider strategy is simple but effective. Upon identifying a threat, a suicider charges the target and detonates a mini nuke. To identify these high priority targets, look for the blinking red glow that appears in the right arm of the super mutant sider's hip. If you have a sufficiently powerful weapon, try to eliminate these enemies before they detect your presence. So an easy way of doing this would be to drop into VATS using a high powered weapon, target their right arm, which automatically, well, more or less targets the mini nuke, and with 3 or 4 shots you're almost guaranteed to hit the mini nuke, exploding them and anybody else around them. Mutant hounds. Compared to a super mutant's lumbering gait, mutant hounds move very quickly. They also have powerful jaws and impressive amount of health. Aim for the head to take them out as quickly as possible, or focus your fire on their legs to slow them down. Super mutant behemoths. Behemoths are by far the most powerful super mutants, and they're incredibly dumb, even by super mutant standards. They attack by tossing boulders at distant enemies, and they use massive fire hydrant bats to smash anything foolish enough to approach them. Your best bet is to stay back and attack with a fat man and a few mini nukes. If you are determined to find a behemoth, check the area around the east of the Sunshine Tidings Co-op. Synths. Synths are synthetic humanoids manufactured by the Institute, and most of the synths you encounter are still controlled by this faction. However, there are plenty of renegade synths scattered throughout the Commonwealth. As such, even those who ally themselves with the Institute are sure to encounter hostile synths. Combined with the shroud of mystery surrounding the Institute, stories of their unpredictable behaviour have made synths hated and feared by most humans. Like super mutants, synths use armour to augment their natural resistances. While numbers vary, most synths maintain a balance between damage resistance and energy resistance, and all synths are immune to radiation and poison. However, synths do share many of the weaknesses found in human enemies. Headshots deal extra damage, and crippled limbs greatly reduce their effectiveness in combat. Most synths carry some type of Institute pistol or Institute rifle, but shock batons are also fairly common too. Institute coursers. Institute coursers are advanced synths used to carry out a variety of covert operations. Their primary duties include eliminating rogue synths, so they're considerably more formidable than the Institute standard models. Coursers utilise relatively light armour, a variety of Institute laser pistols, and grenades that summon synth reinforcements. Each courser also carries at least one stealth boy and one stim pack, making them particularly effective in prolonged battles. However, scoring a quick kill on an Institute courser allows you to correct these items for yourself. And lastly, Triggermen. The Triggermen are a loosely organised group of thugs and criminals, although some particularly enterprising individuals have hatched profitable schemes of their own. Many Triggermen act as hired muscle for the various gangs and crime lords. Triggermen generally attack strangers on sight, but they aren't particularly formidable in small groups. Favouring style over substance, Triggermen don't have much in the way of armour, aside from a natural radiation immunity enjoyed by ghoul members. Triggermen are vulnerable to most attacks. Submachine guns are particularly popular among them, but some members favour assault rifles or semi-automatic pistols as well. A single Triggerman is rarely dangerous, but large groups can deal significant damage very quickly. During firefights, seek cover and pick off the Triggermen one at a time. Well, there we have it, folks. That is the first Fallout 4 lore video on gangs, groups and factions. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you've got to this part and if you're hearing me saying this, thanks ever so much for listening. I hope you'll join us again next Thursday for another of these Fallout 4 lore videos. It's, as I say, it's not always going to be Fallout 4, but there is a lot to talk about. And then we are going to be jumping through the other Fallout games as well, because I've been playing these since the mid-90s, and I'm really looking forward to covering off as much as I possibly can. Alright then, my friends, thank you ever so much for watching and listening. I've been JD, you've been fantastic as always. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the channel. So until next time, my friends, happy gaming.